Do you know the story of the parable of the talents? It's one of Jesus' most powerful teachings about faithfulness, responsibility, and how God entrusts us with gifts, opportunities, and resources. This parable challenges us to examine how we use what God has given us, and it reminds us that our actions matter in His kingdom. Jesus tells the story of a master who was going on a journey. Before leaving, he called his servants and entrusted them with his wealth. To one servant, he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his ability. A talent in those days was not just a coin, it represented a large sum of money, enough to change someone's life. The key point is that each servant was given something of value, and the expectation was that they would use it wisely. The first servant, who received 5 talents, immediately put them to work and earned 5 more. The second servant, who had 2 talents, did the same and doubled his amount. But the third servant, who received 1 talent, buried it in the ground out of fear, hiding what had been entrusted to him. When the master returned, he called the servants to account for how they had used the talents. The first 2 servants were praised for their diligence and faithfulness, and they were rewarded with greater responsibility and joy in their master's presence. However, the servant who buried the talent faced severe consequences. He was called wicked and lazy because he did not use what was entrusted to him, and his 1 talent was taken away and given to the servant who already had 10. The lesson is clear. God expects us to use the gifts, opportunities, and responsibilities He entrusts to us. Fear and inaction are not acceptable excuses. If you're finding this message inspiring, take a moment to support this channel by hitting the like button, subscribing, and sharing this video. Your support allows us to continue creating AI-generated Bible content that brings Scripture to life and helps viewers grow in faith. Comment below, what talents or gifts has God entrusted to you, and how are you using them for His glory? One of the first lessons we can draw from this story is that God gives according to ability. Each servant received what he was capable of handling. This reminds us that God does not expect us to be perfect or to handle more than we can manage. He entrusts us with opportunities, gifts, and responsibilities suited to our abilities. Our task is to faithfully use what we have, no matter the size of the gift. The second lesson is about faithfulness and initiative. The first 2 servants took risks with the talents they were given. They invested them and multiplied what they had. In our own lives, this teaches us that God values those who take initiative, work diligently, and use their God-given resources wisely. Whether it's money, time, spiritual gifts, or influence, we are called to be proactive in serving God and others. Fear is the enemy in this parable. The third servant acted out of fear, hiding what he had been given. Fear can paralyze us, making us ignore opportunities to grow, serve, or glorify God. But Jesus warns us that fear and inaction are not acceptable. Hiding our gifts, whether out of worry, doubt, or insecurity, means we miss the blessing of fulfilling God's purpose in our lives. Another lesson is that God rewards faithfulness. The first 2 servants received praise, joy, and greater responsibility. God honors those who diligently use what He has given them. This principle extends to every aspect of our lives: spiritual growth, financial stewardship, relationships, and opportunities to serve. Faithful use of our talents opens the door for greater impact and blessing. In modern times, we can apply this story to many areas of life. For instance, if God has given you skills in teaching, leadership, creativity, or compassion, these are talents meant to be shared and multiplied. If He has given financial resources, they are entrusted to be used wisely for personal needs, for helping others, and for advancing His kingdom. The question Jesus asks is, how are we using what God has entrusted to us? Interestingly, this parable has gained attention recently in online discussions in AI-generated Bible content. Some creators are producing AI animations of the servants, the talents, and the master's dramatic return, making the story visually engaging and easier to understand. While AI helps bring the story to life, the true lesson is not in the visuals, it's in the message about responsibility, courage, and faithfulness. The parable also teaches about accountability. When the master returned, each servant had to give an account of how they had used the resources entrusted to them. This reminds us that God notices how we handle what He gives us. Our time, energy, resources, and gifts are not just for personal comfort, they are meant to serve His purposes. Accountability encourages us to be intentional and wise in our choices. Another important theme is risk and reward. The first 2 servants took action, which involved effort and some level of risk. They invested what they had and reaped the reward of multiplication. In life, stepping out in faith and using our talents for God's glory may feel risky, but it is always rewarded by God in ways we may not immediately see. Fear, inaction, and comparison are dangers the parable warns against. The third servant buried his talent out of fear and laziness. He compared himself to the others and failed to act. We must guard against excuses, procrastination, and envy, which prevent us from using the gifts God has entrusted to us. Instead, we should embrace what we have and take courageous steps to multiply it for His kingdom. Faith and trust are also central to this story. Using our talents requires trusting that God will provide, guide, and bless our efforts. Just as the master entrusted the servants with valuable resources, God entrusts us with abilities and opportunities. We can step forward in faith, knowing He will honor our diligence and commitment. Finally, the parable of the talents reminds us that every talent, no matter how small, has value. Even the servant with one talent had a responsibility. God's expectations are not based on the size of the gift, but on faithful use. What matters is that we act, take initiative, and invest in ways that honor Him. In conclusion, the parable of the talents challenges us to examine how we are using what God has entrusted to us. Are we hiding our gifts out of fear, or are we multiplying them with diligence and faith? God calls us to take action, trust Him, and use our talents for His glory. The story teaches faithfulness, initiative, accountability, courage, and trust in God's provision. If this video encouraged you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support this channel. Comment below about the talents God has entrusted to you and how you are using them. Remember, God values faithfulness and diligence, and He rewards those who step out in obedience to multiply what He has given. Let the parable of the talents inspire you to act boldly, live faithfully, and serve with courage and trust.